When it comes to my testimony and what the Father has done in my life and for my family, it's I could be here for hours, to be honest, just thinking about everything that He's done. But I'll try to keep it as short as possible, because there are miracles throughout my whole family, and I'm sure Bo knows. But I'm 32. Of course, I grew up in Kilgore, Texas. I'm one of 5 children my mom and dad had. Of course, they got busy. I have an older brother. Of course, my dad, who I'm sure you remember if you were here speaking with him. I'm sure he left his mark because he's a pretty loud guy. I have 3 brothers and a sister. And as far as our household, our family, we grew up in a Christian home. My mom and dad were always preaching the gospel. They were ministering, disciplining, telling us what was right, what was right and what was wrong. And we were attending a ministry here in Longview at the time. But personally, I was young and I had given my life to Christ, but there was a difference between, being saved and actually having a relationship with Christ and knowing who Jesus was personally to me. And so throughout the years, or, my childhood, I always knew of God, that He died for our sin, or Jesus, that He died for our sins, on the cross. But it never really just hit home for me. And so, you knew what to do, you knew right from wrong, but at the same time, it still just wasn't, something that was just, stamped in my heart. And so, high school, I graduated in 2007. We were very heavily involved in athletics. I went on to play baseball at Navarro Junior College to begin with. Then I went to Mississippi State University, where I was drafted, and I played for the Colorado Rockies for 3.5 to 4 years and 2 years of indie ball. And so throughout that time, of course, you have your ups and downs, which I'll, get into later. But for me, I guess I'll start with one testimony. When I first got to Navarro, I hadn't really known much outside, in the sinful life, I guess you could say, because I didn't do much in high school. Dad was there. I was always watching. But I think curiosity was one that really got me, is when I began to get into extracurricular activities, I guess you could say, that were not of God. And so even there, like I said, I knew God, but I didn't know Him. And so there was an instance when I believe it was my first fall at Navarro. I started getting really sick, and it was 102, 103 degree fevers I was having. And I would walk a length of time and I noticed I start to black out, and I never had anything like this before. So I thought I'm just hot or something like that. And I didn't think anything of it. So it went on for about 3 days where I would walk a flight of steps, completely black out to where I couldn't see anything. I would come back to, and I remember I fell asleep in the dugout at practice one time, and my head coach was like, "Hey, just, go back to your dorm, lay down, go to sleep, see if you feel a little better." I never did. My trainer's like, "Stop taking the Motrin," or whatever it was she said that you're taking. So I'm like, okay. Finally, get over and get to the ER room. Lady comes running out of the back. She's like, "Sir, you need to get to ER right now." For me, I'm like, okay. So my head coach comes, he drives me over there. And I remember the automatic doors opening. And as soon as they open, boom, I almost hit the ground. My head coach was behind me. I blacked out and I passed out this time. I woke up to some lady trying to ask me some questions. She's trying to ask me my name, and I finally get to, and she's getting information, this and that. And so I moved from my bottom room to the next room, and that's when the doctor comes in. And he begins to explain what was going on. He's like, "Mr. Shepard, you have an arrhythmia." I think that's what it was called at the time. And what it was my heart was fluttering and beating. Well, let me say this. You know how your heart is pretty much do. Well, mine was just and just, it was misfiring. And at any point in time, it could have dumped a bunch of blood to the bottom and I would have died instantly. And what I found out was at the time is what a bunch of athletes were passing or dying from, just dropping dead on football fields from this same thing within seconds, like 15, 20 seconds, they're running around or whatever. And next thing you know, they're dead on the ground. And it's caused by, well, one cause of it is dehydration. And so, let me back up and go. Well, the doctor comes in and he gives us 3 options. It was either be take pills and be a diabetic, have a reset, which you see forget the thing the shock, those, or they do what's called an ablation, where they run a wire up through the vein or the artery in your leg all the way to your heart, and they kill off the cells that cause your heart to misfire. And so me at the time, I knew what was going on, but then you still really don't know because I've never been that close to death before or anything like that. And so my dad and he would have to tell you, but he's the one who had a dream that night, and he's seen actually what we were supposed to do. So I believe my mom could tell you as well that next day we come back and my dad's like, okay, we're going to go forward with the ablation. I think that's how it was, correct. But the testimony in that was I had been walking around 3 days with something that should have killed me in like 15, 20 seconds. And so I give all glory to God because that in itself was, a miracle for me. And I got my release papers even after that from the doctor because I was an athlete at the time, and all I'm thinking about is, my future in baseball, this and that, and, what I could do provided, the finances. And so that moment runs through your mind. It's like, okay, will I be able to play again or do that? And so, upon leaving, being able to sign those papers and say, you're good to go and participate in your activities and stuff again was just a blessing in itself too. And so, like I said, that moment in college then was for me, the first miracle that, one of them in our family that, I truly give God all the glory and praise for, because, had I not, known Christ or whatever, who knows what would have happened. I wouldn't be standing here today speaking in front of you. So, and with that being said, I still really, it was a point in time where I was like, I'm thankful for that this happened, but, living a life as a believer it's an endurance race. It's not a sprint. And so I go on, and of course the college lifestyle, start to pull me back into, I was drinking. I didn't do drugs. I didn't do anything of that, but I was a popular guy. And so I'm a people person. And so being around different individuals, it was all, I never could really just, I guess, say no. I mean, I could say no, but I always wanted to go have a good time. And so from there, I had pretty much led into Mississippi State. I got to Mississippi State, kind of the same thing. I'd actually gotten drafted twice when I was at Navarro. I got to Mississippi State, and some things happened then where me and the coach had kind of had some rocky roads, and I had up until that time had not been involved with any what's the word I'm looking for? I had had sex. I was still a virgin when I was in college, and then just being truthfully and honest, I lost my virginity when I was a junior in college because I was more scared of my dad, if you've seen him, of anything else. 6'5", he was a former professional baseball player, and I knew what those whoopings felt like when I was a child or anything like that. And so I was really in the know as, from fear more than anything else. And we've had our deliverance from that, but that's a whole nother story. But anyways, that happened that year, and I didn't end up getting drafted, and I felt like, my life was kind of going in a whirlwind at the time, and I didn't go. And so I kind of rededicated my life to Christ after then, but it was really for the wrong reasons, to be honest. I was looking for the stuff, and I really wasn't looking for Christ. And so fast forward to my senior year, I have I had a great year in the SEC. I hit low threes, ended up getting drafted. So I go on, play pro ball. And from there on, that lifestyle in itself is just, when they call it the fast life, it is the fast life. Like I said, I think it's just a gift. I don't know what it is. People have always been attracted to me. So I met people with a lot of money that was always inviting me out. They owned places. And so I was gone and I lost my focus. And so at that time, I think 2014, I'm sorry, this stuff just becomes a blur after a while. You spend every day into it. And so it may have been 2014. We're in spring training the last day. They call us in, and I ended up getting released. And so throughout this whole time, and I hope I'm not missing any points, it's emotional because, to be like, MLB minimum salary is $500,000. That's just being on the roster. And so when you look at those numbers, you start to see what it can do for you, you could do for your family and all that stuff. And so to see it start to slip away at that point in time, it's like, wow, like, what do I do now? Okay, how do I get back to where I need to be? And then in that same instant, you start really pulling on Lord for the wrong stuff when, to be honest, I really hadn't had a relationship with him to begin with. You try to get in your word and when you feel like you need something, but other than that, it's not doing it from the heart. It's not, Lord, what can I do to be intentional for you each day? And so right after then, I went and played 2 years in indie ball. And really my whole life in that span of time was kind of, like I said, just a whirlwind. It was up and down. I was really trying to find myself. I spent a year in Jersey or Hoboken, right outside New York. And then right after then, I spent a year in Chicago playing. And that same time, I think, right after then, I went back out to Scottsdale, which was where spring training is for the Rockies. And so I was out there back with some friends I used to club and do everything with. And so at that moment, I was there. I don't know what it was, but I was out and I just told myself, I'm tired of this. Like I'm fed up. Like I'm tired of living the life a lie and, coming home, putting on a facade and going back and doing what I want to do. This is just not the way to go. And so after then, I came back home and I think she could probably remember. I think I met her, but I hadn't met her yet. Keidra, did I met you yet before I went off? I don't remember. But anyways, I came back home and that's when I really began to ask the Lord to change my life. And he started immediately. I met her and I always tease her because she was my sister's friend before anything. And I still call her my little sister friend sometimes just to tease her or whatever. But I ended up meeting her. We dated, I guess, for about, it feels a lot shorter to me, but she says it was a year. Was it a year? It was two. It was 2 years. All that matters is I love her. That's all that matters. So, but saying that to say, the Lord, he began to change my life instantly. And so, like, I think I came back October. I met her and her family where we were attending the same ministry as well. And I think I think I somehow added everybody but her on Facebook, and she called me out on it. And she was like, "Why you always talking to my family? You don't ever speak to me," or something along those lines. But anyways, we began talking. I asked her father out to take her out, and from there on, we got married after then, and we're going on 5 years now. And so, I do have that date right. So, but after then was when I really began to actually know Christ and have a relationship for myself. Like I said at the beginning, growing up, we did an amazing job with raising us and being parents now. A parent myself, I understand the task at hand, when it comes to, every day, raising children. And she had 5 and I got 2. I want one more, but that second one makes me ready to stop. But, I'm just kidding. I love my kids, but they did an amazing job with us. And so I, seeing that now, I thank the Lord for what he has, done in our lives, between me and my wife and where